Now, James, I've been told that most people really want to go and see your show, How Much for Cash, because of Piero Viavattene, not so much for yourself. Is that true?
Where have you heard that?
Just online?
No, thanks. I'm done with this interview.
Pretty much like Facebook, it's everywhere, really.
I don't know what kind of interview this is, but that's bloody rude, mate. Rude.
James Liotta, welcome to Comedy Legends with Bevo. Great to have you in the studio for the very first time.
Thank you so much. I don't know if I have to reach over and shake hands. These days you can shake hands.
With fist pump,
fist pump. I know. Do you go for the shake of the hand and people go, no, give you a bit of that. So I give them a bit of this.
It's so awkward, isn't it? Like, honestly, you just don't know what to do.
No, you don't know what to do anymore, but it's great to be here. I've seen it on the YouTube and finally I'm here.
Oh, what an absolute pleasure it is to obviously meet you for the very first time. I saw your show recently with Tahir and George,
Thanks.
Crazy Rich Ethnics. And how was that series? Because it was a lot of fun. I went along to it and saw it, and yeah,
it was great. It was great. It was an interesting one because we developed it pre-COVID. We kicked it off, had to stop because of COVID. Then we kicked off more. Then we stopped again because of COVID, and then finally we've managed to finish the tour. So all in all, it was about 30 or so shows around Australia that we did. It was great.
Wonderful. Well, you had a packed house at the Arkabar, as you should as well. So, and you're back again in Adelaide. We'll speak about your show a bit later on.
Sure.
But let's talk about your journey, though. Let's go back to how it all began, because correct me if I'm wrong, you actually started things pretty young. Your father was an actor as well, and you got an agent at a young age. Explain more about that.
Yeah. My father was always doing theatrical productions on the side. Of running other businesses like restaurants and things like that. So it was a hobby for him. And he was an actor and he was a playwright. More for the Italian community. He would write shows in Italian. He was a very good Italian writer for the Italian community, particularly of Melbourne, of Victoria. And then he would stage them with other members of the community that just loved performing. So I was always involved in that world of performance. I mean, it was just that it was in Italian when I was a young age, that's all. So it was just in a different language. But the rules of performance remain. Acting is acting. That's whether or not the language is different, doesn't matter. So I got involved in that. And from that, I grew a real liking to it from a young age. And so my dad, sort of found an agency for me to be in. And from time to time, I would take time off school to do things like commercials or small bit parts here and there. I never landed like a mega movie as a child or anything like that, but I did certainly have fairly constant work with things that would pop up. I've done all the pasta sauce commercials, done all are we allowed to mention brands?
Of course you can.
Yeah, I've done Dolmio, Zaffarelli pasta, did that as a teenager. Then I did a commercial for a restaurant chain called La Porchetta, which I don't think you have here in Adelaide. But
Love that place.
There's a few in Melbourne. It's a huge place. I've done a couple of commercials for them. And then there was an ABC show called Lift Off a long time ago, and I was on that at sort of regularly on that show, whether it was just small parts or bit parts, just small things would pop up on that show. So bits and pieces, and I'd have to actually take time off school as a kid to work, which is interesting because you have to sign this form that the principal has to sign off on it. And if the principal doesn't sign off on it, back then you couldn't work. The kid couldn't work. So if your grades were crap, the principal could say, we're not letting this kid out of school to go and work because he's not doing well at school.
So you have to do a Ferris Bueller and take that day off then.
A sickie to go work.
Yeah.
So it was interesting times.
And what about at school? Because we see these days with sports stars, like in Adelaide, we've had Cole Chalmers and so many other examples of athletes who have done really good things, been into the Olympics at a young age, and your musicians like your Guy Sebastians and these sort of people as well. What was it like being at school and actually, your classmates seeing you on TV? Were you known as a bit of a hero back in those days?
I don't know about a hero. There were two sides to it. There were the side that was supportive, and they were like, oh, that was really cool, or we saw you on something or whatever, And then there was the side that, for some reason, they'd pick on you. They'd be jealous, I guess, that you were doing something that was different, that not every kid in the school was doing, They were playing footy and you were off, filming a commercial or something like that. So there were two sides to it. And then, they'd pick on you. They'd go, oh, why don't you play the dog on Blue Heelers?
That's rough.
It is rough, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a jealousy thing, I reckon. Yeah.
Then I'd tell them how much money I made for a commercial and they'd shut up because, they weren't making that much money for a commercial.
And the ladies, did it work with that as well in high school? Or?
Not really.
Not really?
No, not really, no. I don't recall any ladies popping up because they might have spotted me on TV here or
No,
there.
didn't work for that? No.
No, not really. It still doesn't. Nothing's changed there.
And what about your dad? Was he a big influence on your career and especially starting so young as an actor?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, he got me involved. He was the first one that sort of put me on stage and made me feel what it was like to perform to a live audience. And I really just took a passion and a love for it at a young age, and it stays with you. It really is something that's like in your blood. And then whether you then pursue it as a career, that's a different story, because it's a real lifestyle. It's not just a job. You have to live the lifestyle of it. And the lifestyle is very up and down. You don't know when you're getting your next job sometimes. Paychecks are in and out all the time. You're basically working for yourself in many ways. So it's a journey, absolutely.
So after school, going from, where we are now to back to school, did you study yourself in the art side of things, or did you go straight into acting after school? Or tell us about that situation.
I did one course. I did a 2-year diploma of arts, which was based around theatre and theatre making. In particular, the focus of this course was creating your own work, which that's what I've been doing for the last good 10, 15 years now, is creating my own work. As well as working in other people's productions, I put on my own shows, like the ones that I've got coming to Adelaide and all around Australia. So it was a real hands-on course to be part of. But that's the only course I've ever done, because I was already working in the business. So the course was just to enhance some skills and get something on paper where I can go, well, I've got a diploma. I'm a diploma of acting. I've got it, Doesn't mean anything.
Did you ever get on Neighbours, Home and Away, or Blue Heelers?
I got on Neighbours a couple of times. Yeah, I worked on Neighbours.
What was your role on Neighbours?
It was a small role, a couple of episodes. I was just a mate. Very incidental. Like, I didn't really push the storyline along, I was a mate of one of my character's name was Paul Stafford. Doesn't mean anything. That's just a character's name. And he was a mate. He was a mate of one of the leads. It's almost 20 years ago that I don't even remember much of it. So.
And you get to meet many of the cast after the show as well?
Yeah, you do. You were in the green room with them at the time, hanging out. I was there with Harold, Ian Smith.
Oh.
And he's a grumpy man.
Is he?
He's a very grumpy man.
Oh, that surprised me. I thought he'd be quite a nice guy.
I remember, are we allowed to swear on this thing? Are we? He looked at the schedule and poor guy, they had programmed him for one scene at like 7 a.m. This is all I remember about being on Neighbours, in the green room. And then one scene at 6 o'clock at night, but he couldn't leave. Like, he had to stay because sometimes it's just the way the schedule works. He's like, who fucking puts these schedules together? And he's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Great guy.
I can't imagine Harold swearing. That's amazing.
He's a good bloke. But I just remember him being upset about this schedule, and I get it. Like, they've been on the show for 50 years, like, I don't want to do that. If it's me, I'm like, yeah, I get to stay all day. That's great. It's different for them.
And did you watch the finale? And did you feel a bit more special knowing that you'd actually been a part of Neighbours back in the day?
It was great to. I haven't watched Neighbours in a long time, but I did watch the finale for the reasons that just to see how they tie it all together. It was nice to know that at some point you did work on it. Certainly wasn't some reoccurring role or anything like that. I did audition a few times, but it just didn't go my way for those bigger roles. The finale is an interesting one. I'm not sure. I was expecting a bit more. I mean, there was, no one died. There was nothing blew up. It was too nice. It was too nice.
I'm with you.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm waiting for a bomb to go off or something like.
What's happening here? It was just, Toadie was meant to leave.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, I'll stay. Oh, this is just boring. Leave, Toadie. Like, I want tears. Leave.
The amount of kidnappings and stabbings and whatever's happened on the show.
But in the last episode, nothing.
Yeah, so, I'm with you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but every show has its time eventually, It can't go forever.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your father, we spoke about before, the influence that he's had on your career.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though if he wasn't an actor, you might have done a different career path yourself? And what do you think you might have done if you weren't an actor and comedian?
That's a good question. Mate,
I better give Anna, my producer, a shout out.
Anna, great questions, Anna. Because when it's with you from a young age, that young, you don't even think about it. It's always been with you. But look, if he wasn't involved in the arts, they ran restaurants. My parents ran restaurants. So potentially I might have grown into the restaurant business, In another life, I would have loved to have been a pilot.
Oh.
Yeah, because I love flying, not actually flying. I love just flying in the aeroplane. But to be a pilot, you've got to be a lot more intelligent than what I am. Like a lot more intelligent.
High pressure as well.
Yes, that too. So, but I love planes.
And James, how do you go in terms of nerves and also hecklers on stage? What's your way of approaching them?
Yeah, in terms of comedy, in terms of, look, when it comes to stand-up, I started stand-up comedy probably a good 15 years ago. And it is nerve-wracking at the start. It takes time to find your style, basically, and how you're going to perform that to an audience. Your type of stories, the way you recite your jokes and your gags and the way you deal with your audience. But nerves are good. Like, you need to use nerves, If you're a performer and nerves are making you so nervous that you're breaking out in sweats and you've got anxiety, it's not for you. Like, that's not, it's not worth all that trouble. You're in the wrong job, A little bit of nerves just to excite you is good. When you're doing comedy and you hear people laugh, not your family and friends, but people that you don't know, laugh at what, you're talking about in your material, it's one of the best feelings in the world. Because to make people laugh is fantastic.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Just giving people a good time. I don't do comedy that has a message. A lot of comedians will have a message in their show, which is great, fantastic when they can weave that through their show. It's not for me, not yet anyway. I just the focus is to laugh. Here's the gag, here's the material. Enjoy it.
You do a very good job of that as well.
It's very common.
And the heckler side of things, have you had a couple over the years, and how do you deal with them? Because, like you mentioned, some comedians have different ways of dealing with them.
Yeah, like you've got your what we call anti-heckles in your brain, ready to go. Just generic stuff if someone goes a little bit too far. In Melbourne, I was part of a theatre restaurant for 7 years. I was a lead performer at a theatre restaurant. We
used to have those. We used to have the night train in Adelaide back in the day. Right. Well, you've got witches and bitches.
Witches and britches.
Yeah. Sorry, britches, not bitches.
No, not bitches, not bitches. People used to call it that all the time. It was witches in britches, which I found out years after. This just means pants. Britches means pants of some sort. Was there for 7 years. Every single weekend, I probably missed 5 shows over 7 years. One of them was my sister's wedding. I had to go.
Yeah.
And
you might be in trouble with that if you didn't go.
Had to go to that. You're dealing there was a lot of heckles there because you're dealing with an audience that's very alcohol fueled. It's a theatre restaurant, so they'd have their dinner, then they'd watch a 2-hour show. So by the time second act came along, it was pub crowd kind of stuff. Sometimes the heckles just turned into abuse and we had to stop the show because they were just too far gone. To call police sometimes, to come and drag whole tables out.
Holy moly.
Yeah, had to close the curtains. The show will cease for the next 5 minutes, blah, 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 until they sort it out. Yeah, because they just got too drunk.
Would that make it hard to,
So it's more than heckling.
Yeah, and would that make it hard to sort of just concentrate after going through those sort of, to reset after being through that sort of situation?
It does it certainly puts a dampener on the show because all of a sudden you're stopping the show. The timing of the show is gone. The moment, you're missing the moment. To stop a show so you can take a group of people out. The cops have come in, 12 of them to take them out. But what you find in moments like that is that group that were being rowdy, everyone was annoyed with them. So everyone was pleased when, groups like that left. So we'd open the curtains, the show would continue, you get a big applause for it, and then off we go again. But that's theatre restaurant for you, That's when there's too much alcohol.
And that would obviously put you in good stead as well if you go to, like, say, fringes and things around the world and around Australia when you deal with hecklers, knowing that you've been through those sort of situations.
Exactly, you've been through the worst of the worst. You can't, it can't be any better than just having, people get taken out by the cops at a show.
That's next level.
I mean, you're not going to find that at Her Majesty's Theatre. That's a whole different thing. But it throws you into the deep end of stuff, and it gives you the skills.
And do you like to argue back with these hecklers? Because like I said, some comedians have different ways of handling it.
Yeah, it just depends. It depends whether it's a genuine heckle or what. Sometimes a heckle can be quite funny, and you have to acknowledge it. Like sometimes people are very funny what they throw at you, and whether you can get one on top of that is up to you as a comedian. If you can't, sometimes you go, that's great. Sometimes you'll laugh back, at that. So for the most part, people are good, Heckles are far and few.
And the material for your shows, where does it generally come from, James?
We say that it comes from going back home to our parents and having dinner, or our grandparents, and just meeting them, not meeting them, just being with them for a few hours. You get all your material from there. So, because a lot of our material is based around our family, our upbringing, the experiences we've had, but also it's about looking at the differences, because ethnic kids and even teenagers, we grew up different. We grew up with the different morals, different parenting styles in our families compared to, say, some of our Anglo friends. And a lot of the comedy is based around that, the comparisons of that as well. So it's all stuff that we've experienced, and people, our audience relates to it. When they relate to it, they can find it funny.
And you've got a female character that you play as well. Tell us about her.
Yeah.
And the idea for her came about as well.
Yeah, well, both myself and my colleague Piero Viavattene, who's part of my show, which we'll talk about soon, we both play women who are the wives of our characters, Pippo and Pasquale. And they always, for some reason, they came about after. They're like, these guys need wives. Well, who's going to play them? Well, we're going to play them. So it's been a lot of fun, yeah. And the whole, you're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to men getting dressed up as women for comedic purposes. This has been happening back in the Shakespeare days,
Yeah.
Well, Shakespeare days, women weren't even allowed to perform on stage. Glad times have changed since then, but they weren't allowed to perform. So the men would play the women roles. So, again, we're not reinventing the wheel here.
And you and George did that as part of Crazy Rich Ethics.
We
did. It was absolutely hilarious.
We
mate.
did.
So,
we had a good time. Yeah. So those two lady characters had never worked together before on stage. So because George has his lady character,
yes,
the Yaya or Ellie, Yaya's grandmother, and we decided for Crazy Rich we'd bring my one, the Italian one, and the Greek one together in a little skit. And it went very well. Yeah, people liked it.
And speaking of the rich, crazy rich ethnics as well, all three of you guys have been on Fat Pizza together.
Yeah, that's our common.
Here is a bib. And,
that's
George,
our common link.
Ronald McDonald and yourself. You played Lino.
Lino. Yeah. That is our common link. There you go. So Tahi, obviously a legendary character from Fat Pizza back in the day. Habib. George was in there playing Ronnie McDougall as well. And then I've come on in the new series that Paulie Fennick has put together. Paulie's given me this great opportunity to take part in the new series, and I always wanted to be on it when I used to watch it. I was about 18. I used to bring my agent weekly and say, can you find like an audition or something? And it was Sydney-based, and they weren't dealing with other areas, for casting. Could not get on it. Then 20 years pass, and you meet the right people, you make the right connections, and suddenly the show's back and you get a call going, hey, would you like to play this role? I'm like, yeah, that would be fantastic.
What a dream come
true.
Yeah,
it really is. I know it's one of those weird ones, but it is, for me, it's a little dream come true. To whip on the Fat Pizza outfit and be delivering pizzas and having a whole storyline put around you on the new Fat Pizza comedy series. It's a legendary show.
Oh, I love it too. I think it's so much fun.
It's a crazy show.
It is. It's loose.
That's it. But that's the point. Like, it's just a laugh. It's an escape. That's all it is. That's all it is.
And the character you play, is it a serious character or is it like?
Oh no, he's the 40-year-old virgin basically. He's the cousin. He's Paulie's cousin, Paulie Falcone's cousin, and he's just a dork. And he thinks he's good with the ladies. He's not. He claims he's been with many, but he hasn't been with any. And he gets to all sorts of trouble,
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, look, we've done 2 seasons already. I believe there will be a season 3 of the new Fat Pizza in time. Paulie Fennick's working on a few other projects at the moment, so other TV projects, but it will come. Yeah.
And what about the other cast members on Fat Pizza? What's it like working with them? And then give us a bit of an idea about some of the other cast.
They're all fantastic, and no one is like aggressive the way some of the Fat Pizza characters are. Even because a lot of them double up in Housos as well.
Of course.
So I did a cameo on Housos as Lino, mind you. But no, everyone's lovely. Really, really lovely. Everyone's down to earth, fun to be with, lots of laughs, lots of smiles. No, they're fantastic.
How do you go with playing a serious character?
When I get an opportunity to play a serious character, I love it, absolutely love it, because I love drama. I graduated as more of an actor in a dramatic sense. Comedy kind of came after. I was still involved in comedy, but as more of a career path, it came a little bit after. But I'm craving to get like a dramatic role in
Home
something.
and Away, maybe. Could be a new Riverboy, perhaps.
Is that drama? Yeah, I could be a new gang member.
Yeah.
I could be like the short, hairy wog gang.
One of the bikies, maybe, or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I could be a bikie. Yeah, no worries. I mean, I'm going skinhead soon.
Oh, it's happening to the best of us, mate. So.
Oh, mate, I got to say, I don't know if this is in shot, but that's you, yeah?
Yeah, no.
You've overdone it with the hair, though,
I'm
haven't
pretty
you?
fortunate.
You're pretty fortunate in the
Yeah,
cartoon.
my cartoon guy was very nice to me. My mates like to remind me, and they've actually done a couple of like what it should look like, and they've sort of cut most of my hair off, and it's like, you pricks, you know what blokes are like. So, but yeah, no, they're like, you should change the logo. I'm like, no,
I like
I'm just gonna leave it, so.
the eyebrows. The eyebrows are fantastic.
The blue eyes.
I know.
Yeah, he's done well.
That's good. No, you look good. You look good there.
It's actually me after I've been a mosh.
And look, you've got the Victorian Premier's ears as well.
Yeah,
Dan Andrews. You've
exactly.
got the we call it Dumbo ears. He's got
Exactly. No, I'm quite happy to leave it as it is. But hey, before we go,
Sure.
let's talk about your show that's happening coming up in October.
Yeah.
You spoke about it a little bit before.
I did.
Yeah. So you've got a brochure to show as well.
I do. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Here we go. Yes, that's our poster. That camera there. We go to that camera? I'm not sure. That's our poster. It's called How Much for Cash? And it's got myself and my colleague Piero Viavattene, and we've got our characters, Pippo and Pasquale, the ladies, the Marias. We've got other new characters as well. Videos, never before seen video sketches as well, so that they break up the live scenes that we do. We're coming to Adelaide at the Star Theatre, which is a real icon here in Adelaide, an iconic local theatre. It's like a 350-seater, genuine proscenium arch theatre. It's fantastic, and we can't wait. And October 1 is the date, and you can get tickets through howmuchforcashlive.com. You don't forget the live, because it takes you to a porno. And we got no tickets to that. That's not our show. You go howmuchforcashlive.com, and Bevo, just for your viewers, if they use the code CASH10, they'll get a bit of a discount on tickets as well, and Wogs love a discount.
Absolutely.
So that's why we had to create it.
Can't wait.
Because now everyone's, of course, the title's backfired on us, because everyone comes up and goes, how much for cash for the tickets? It's just the title, mate.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
for fun. But we chose that. We just chose something funny, a bit of a phrase that's well known in the community with ethnics like Greeks, Italians,
Brilliant.
Lebanese, Maltese. But these days, I think everybody, it doesn't matter where you're from, everyone's asking how much for cash.
It's all about saving the dollars, isn't it? So, and tell us about Piero. Your background with him.
Piero and I, we started performing together about 7 years ago. We kind of met because he was doing his character, Pippo, and I was doing mine, Pasquale. And we sort of got chatting. We said, how funny would it be? They're kind of similar in many ways. They got the same sort of style. They should be like best friends. They should have a best friend. Could it be each other? We said, well, let's do some videos together. Let's do some sketches, put them online like we all do. See what reaction they get. They got a great reaction. We just continued making more. Then we were doing live streaming videos as the characters. Then we added the women in as well into the mix. And then you develop a bit of an audience, enough for you to warrant a live show, basically. And now we try to concentrate on the live shows where we can. But we've become great friends as well. So it's not just a working relationship. He's one of my best friends too. So we always have a good laugh together.
And has Piero been in TV shows as well? He looks really familiar.
Yeah, Crime Stoppers. Yeah, look at that face. That'll be both of us, actually. He's appeared with me on Studio 10 and the Channel 10 News when we were doing some crosses. We did some live crosses for some events that we were involved in.
So he wasn't in Fat Pizza? Looks like.
No,
looks like
no, but I mean, it would look like someone that could be in Fat Pizza. No, not as yet, But
don't come after me, Piero, for me saying that. But,
it'd be good. That's a good face. That is a good delivery driver. That face.
Absolutely.
Imagine getting a pizza from that face there.
I could see him on Houseways or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while I'm at it, just a shout out to our Adelaide sponsors, Azzurri Continental. It's a great little place, and they've come on board to support,
Wonderful.
like yourselves as well. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. You've got to
Appreciate
support local business.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. So that's what we're doing. They're doing it for us. So we're helping back as well the community. But I always love coming to Adelaide. Bevo. I've come here many times. I've even toured here with Joe Avati as well. I've opened many shows for Joe Avati around the country, and we've done many in Adelaide too. So another amazing performer in this group that I'm so honoured to be around. Joe Avati, George, Tahir, real legends of the game. So
Might have to get Joe and Comedy Legends of Bevo as well, and Piero.
yeah, absolutely. We'll get Piero in next time. I'm sure you can get Joe as well. We'll get them all.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can get, we were saying before, the two Marias.
Yes.
Yeah. Pippo and Pasquale's wives here on the couch. They might have to share a couch. If you had the boys in, if you had Pippo and Pasquale, they'd share the couch.
Yeah, that would be pretty insane, I reckon.
Pasquale
So-
would sit on Pippo, I reckon. I reckon that's the way it would
I don't
go.
think I need to ask any questions. They're just all the talking.
No, they're just,
so-
you wouldn't get a
Yeah.
word in.
Yeah.
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 All right, let's not have them on.
James Liotta,
Thank you,
been an
mate.
absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on Comedy Legends with
Really
Bevo,
appreciate it.
and can't wait for the show. Not far away. It's on the 1st of October.
1st of October.
How much for catch? Get involved in that.
Yeah, love to see you all there. Thanks so much, Adelaide.